Hey there, safecrackers! Get your combinations ready because it is time for the Comic Vault! That's right, a vault full of comics! Because that's really cool. We keep them in a vault. Because flood damage won't happen. Why else would we keep them? Anyway, today, guys, we are reviewing Untold Tales of Punisher Max. Untold Tales of the Punisher Max, number 3. Hooray! Number 3. I gotta say, I really like this. I'm so jazzed by this issue. First of all, issues 1 and 2 I thought were pretty lackluster. I didn't care for them much. Issue 3 I really enjoyed. It has a lot of really interesting gender roles. I'll say this. This is by Megan Abbott, who I believe is a crime fiction writer. And some non-fiction as well, I think. And she took on the Punisher. And the main thing in this issue isn't even the Punisher. He doesn't show up into the last few pages of the book. And I'll tell you what, as you read this, you know that that's going to happen. Essentially what this is about is a man who is living a fairly ordinary life. He has a wife, kids, a 9-to-5 job. He has in the past made some terrible decisions and is currently making a terrible decision, and he's judging himself for it. It's interesting to see a guy who can't help himself, a fairly ordinary man. Now, I think that it's interesting to look at, not necessarily suburban, but I'll say suburban because that's the typical way that we look at the American household. I think it's interesting for criminality to intrude upon commonplace. I think that makes for interesting storytelling. Not necessarily that it's instantly compelling, but I think that's a cool place to start. I find that fun. No, not necessarily fun, but I find it horrifying to some extent because it hits you in a personal area. Because this is a guy that you could know. This could be your dad, this could be your friend, this could be you. Now, what this guy is doing is he gets off work every so often. It's just some random guy. I believe he has a name. I've forgotten his name. It's less important. The names are less important because what this book is really about is a chance encounter. So we have a guy, or something that's supposedly a chance encounter, we have a guy who is looking around while he is getting off work, and he starts to notice this really attractive young lady who seems to frequent the same bus stop that he does. So, and some days he'll sit there and wait for her to show up. He'll wait extra long just to see if she shows up. So he jumps on the bus and he says, "Hey, I want you to know I've been watching you," and it sounded really creepy the way he said it, but she wasn't turned off by it, which made me think this is a scenario in which she knows something that we don't. And as the book carries on, I don't want to spoil it for you, or I'll say this, I don't want to, but I am going to spoil this issue, so please don't watch this if you intend to read it. Or just stop the video now and go read it, because I have to talk about the ending for this book to even make sense. Otherwise, I'm just going to say, suburban guy, moving on. It's a single issue. It's a single issue. This is a one-shot within a series. So, this man is intrigued by this girl, and she takes him down to this lake, and in this lake, he is starting to have memories of the last time that he was there. And essentially, he's a guy that killed a woman there. And what the important part of the story is not the fact that he killed a woman. What's interesting is how he thinks of it. Inside, or outwardly, he keeps making decisions like he's a rational man. He doesn't outwardly judge himself. He even goes so far as to follow this other young girl to this lake to perhaps have, let's call it, a potential sexual encounter. Because why else would he be following this girl he doesn't know? Why else would he be waiting at the bus stop for this woman to show up? He's doing something that's extramarital, and what's interesting about it is that a lot of this comes from inner monologue for this guy, and he judges himself inwardly. He knows what he's doing is wrong, and he doesn't see himself as being able to help himself. He does not see himself as somebody who has any control over what he's doing. There is an urge, and he has to satisfy it. Essentially, the reason that he killed the girl, not this girl, but the girl from his past, was that he had a summer fling with her, and she got pregnant, and then he decided he couldn't let her being pregnant ruin his future. The reason that the Punisher shows up is that the girl in the know, we have set up earlier in the story that when he went back in his past, this is so scatterbrained, in his past, the man who has made these reckless decisions, the man who killed a woman, he took this girl that he was having a summer fling with and her baby sister, literally a baby sister, to the lake. And I thought it was going to be some horrible accident where the kid drowns. No, it was he physically drowns the woman he was having, the pregnant girl, the newly pregnant girl that he was having a fling with. So later on in the story, we find out something that it's fairly predictable, and I'm not going to say predictable is a bad thing, but when I say predictable, I mean all of the breadcrumbs are there, and you realize it just as it happens. Of course, it's not a particularly long issue, but it is pretty compelling. It leads you from one thing to the next. You say, oh, this is what happens, and then you find it out. And then you say, oh, this is what's going on, and then you find it out. It's very well paced. The Punisher doesn't necessarily fill the role of an actual person in this. The actual people are the blonde girl, the new girl that this man is chasing, and the man whose perspective it's from. The end result is the Punisher is essentially, not necessarily a hired gun, but he's obviously brought in by the girl who is trying to entice this man at the bus stop. So the Punisher comes in and does the thing that the Punisher does. Need I say more? And the interesting thing is we get very little about the Punisher. He is just a loaded weapon that is picked up and pointed. I think what's interesting about this issue is that there's a lot of things about gender roles in here. Here's a man who doesn't necessarily think of women as, well, I would say outwardly, he chooses not to treat a woman like a person. He thinks that they are an object of desire. They fill roles in his life. So his wife is just the person who raises his kids. This summer fling girl was just a sexual encounter. And this girl that he's about to, or that he's just gone swimming with, was just supposed to be a sexual encounter. He knows that he cannot keep doing these things and maintain actual relationships with these people, but he does it anyway. What's fun about this issue? Well, you know, that's the thing, is that the issue's not even fun. It's just emotionally heavy because you get to see a guy who welcomes death because he keeps making decisions that he knows are criminal, that he knows are morally wrong. But so to some extent, by saying that he knows that these things are morally wrong, we're also saying that he knows that a woman is a person, and he knows that she deserves to be treated as a person. But he has these selfish desires that he puts above all else. He has a selfish desire that he puts above even his ability to know what's good for him. That, I think, is significant. That this guy, he's making choices that are not just bad for the person that he's affecting, it's bad for his own life because he has to live with it, because he has to hide things, because when he does these things and he judges himself for it, he thinks of himself as less of a person. He starts to think of himself as a shell that holds desires. And do I necessarily know that all of this stuff is really intended by Megan Abbott? I'd like to think so. I really do. I think this is a very well constructed issue. Now, if you're a Punisher fan and you like to see the Punisher shoot things, if you like to see the Punisher blow things up, this isn't the issue for you. But if you like things that can exist within the Punisher universe, if you like things where the Punisher is more of a force than he is a protagonist, then I think this is really a fascinating issue. It's really interesting to me. In fact, I don't know how long I've talked here, but I only actually have 4 notes written down for it. Gender roles, aggressor judging himself, aggressor desires, and the Punisher is exempt from gender roles. Now maybe I should say that real quick. I said that the Punisher is essentially a force. So within this particular issue, the Punisher doesn't necessarily have to be male or female. Now maybe it's significant that he's male because the woman, the potential victim of this situation, the she uses the Punisher. Now, maybe it's significant that a woman is using a man. Maybe it's significant that a man being the Punisher, can rise above gender roles and just do what he has to do. Now, maybe he doesn't even rise above gender roles. Maybe the important thing here is that the Punisher is coming to the aid of a woman. Or maybe there's something to be said that the woman that needs a man to help her. That's what I find interesting about this, is that I really don't get the impression that that's what it is. I feel like the Punisher is just help. The Punisher is a gun. She might as well have just picked up a gun and shot the man herself. Surely she could have come up with something really creative for the person who murdered her sister. Was she really close to her sister? Obviously no. She was an infant at the time. So maybe that's an issue with the storytelling. Maybe the kid needs to be a little bit older. But then again, why would they have summer flings at the lake with sexual encounters if the kid was old enough to remember things? Now, there is something to be said for an infant being able to remember things that did not directly happen in their conscious life. So I've heard psychologists say that the kid's going to be too young to remember that something traumatic happened. I've also heard people suggest that because the kid had something traumatic happen to them, even if it was before the kid would remember this, because they had something traumatic to them, that something could develop wrong with them because there's this thing in their subconscious memory. Do I prescribe to that? I don't know, but I think that's the way it works in this book. I think that that's the way you have to read this particular issue. I'm very pleased with this issue. I liked it a lot. And I highly recommend Untold Tales of Punisher Max number 3. Not necessarily Untold Tales of Punisher Max 1 and 2. Check them out if you like. I don't recommend them. I recommend this one. It annoys me when the covers have nothing to do with what's inside of the book. That really annoys me. I can see the Punisher maybe on a boat because he's at a lake. But here he's sitting at a diner. Or maybe it's significant that he's sitting at a diner because the man would watch the girl from a diner at the bus stop. Or maybe a little coffee shop. But, well, actually, I think he's at a coffee shop. He's watching her from a coffee shop, and the Punisher on the cover is sitting. Oh, coffee bar. Whatever. I just don't like the cover. I think it's I think the artist rendering is very pretty, and I really like the cover artist, who actually don't know who the cover artist is. The cover artist is Assad Ribic. Very pretty cover. Has very little to do with what's in the issue. That annoys me. Anyway, moving on. Thanks for watching the Comic Vault, guys. If you have some stuff that you want to get rid of, if you have some stuff that you want us to see, if you have some stuff that you want us to review, if you have some stuff you want us to share, you can send that to us. You can donate to the Comic Vault by sending those things to Geekvolution, P.O. Box 14183, Lenexa, Kansas 66285. Feel free to send us what you like, guys. Thanks for watching. I'm Vince. This is the Comic Vault. We'll catch you next time.